So we're now at a very interesting spot. All over Twitter, X-Twitter, TwizX, what did we start to see? That a whole bunch of people like reacting to Mark Hamill. And that Mark Hamill was like, oh yeah, Israel, in your time of need, I support you. And so the quote-unquote fans of Mark Hamill then drop all kinds of stuff about how those colonialists deserve it, really. So now we have solidly, and more this is happening, that, the big one that everyone's looking at is that Ethan Klein has discovered, the left is, again, kind of not cool with Jews. But it just depends on if these are like nationalist, pride-having in their ethnicity and history Jews, or if they're Jewish people who, like all the wimpy, white, inferior lowlives of the left, are constantly apologizing for, say, bringing the Navajo the wheel. It was a bitter journey, but now Navajos have wheels, and, well, there's more Native Americans than could have ever possibly existed. There are actually so many Native Americans now that we can't keep them in their various countries. Apparently they think we have lots of wheels. So now people could think, that's beyond gallows humor. That's Iron Maiden humor. Holy shit. That's terrible. You're a terrible person. I could laugh about all this because I'm the long creation of of a world of people, of a world of humans who leave where they are, find another place, and try to establish themselves there. I don't know why that seems so crazy and weird to people, but it apparently is very, very weird to a lot of people, especially when they're left of center, which then does coincide with what really plagued the left of center. It was not like the Christians remember, the Christians thought the Bible was correct. So Christians had a very complicated ancient world. And then Christians also the key to this was that old texts about history, that's a conservative thing. That's a Christian thing. That's that's something that you do when you get old, when you like reading the words of white people and old white people, talking about other ancient white people. And that's not the left. The left doesn't do that. The left has somebody who, usually a Jewish person, who picks bits and pieces out of history, puts them out of context, says, look at how bad, the whites were, or something like that. Navajos didn't have wheels. Why didn't they have wheels? Because they didn't have beasts of burden. Without beasts of burden, you don't get trails that could have 4 people apart. Think that through. Sidewalks are called sidewalks. That's why they're narrow. So, without beasts of burden, you can't pull things. If you can't pull things, why would you put them in a cart? That's why you would never develop a wheel, because you have no reason. There's no reason to develop it. And so a lot of people just don't want to accept this about what is a logical walkthrough. It's the logical walkthrough is what I like referring to. You just walk through the logic of it. So what's interesting is, what was I saying before? Oh no, you see, the left of center culturally has this weird way of saying, sort of having it at the same time, it's this dichotomous way of thinking. One, there was sort of this era of like Lemuria and Atlantis, this magic white woman world. it's this fantasy world that you find also among Black American pseudo scholars, that they like talking about. Oh, what's the one that they focus on? Hyperborea is I think the one that they focus on. So what they try to do is have this sort of history that there was like this world where people were all in one place, or that they were in some way, shape, or form they were communicating through crystals or through boats or through psychic, something. It's always goofy shit like this, and it leads to then a logical outcome. Actually, it's that's why everybody has to meditate on crystals, because then they could one day bring that back or something like that, or they could find the secrets of the ancients, or something. But then there's another weird. So there's sort of the mother culture, super duper mega not having any evidence theory, which is it's really old. Like, this is really old. It goes back to like the days of ultra racism and organizations of super racism now dressing costumes and shit and menace people. Like, that's where that comes from. That's why blacks are stuck on it, because a lot of left of center black culture is just this sort of dysfunctional thing sealed in dysfunctional amber. It's like in this, it's like in this dysfunctional energy field that it just stays there forever, repeating the same errors over and over and over again, as Noble Drew Ali said. So what we now know is that without inputs from, often that are negative, these are often negative inputs from outside, you don't get new ideas. That which is new is difficult to handle. People don't understand. They're like, oh, Black Africa had a relationship with China, and so therefore the Chinese are Africans, or some kooky shit. Or that it was the idea of the negative input of some people started trying to establish a harbor for trade. They brought some skills, they brought some items, and like all negative interactions like that, the people just didn't pick up the skills. They just let the items rot, or they disposed of them. Maybe they made them cult cargo, very unlikely. But that's what happens with colonies. If they don't work, they don't work. But if they do work, you might end up with the wheel. You might end up with a superior ship. But it might take 100 years before you have that. And that's the hard part. So at first, like, nobody ever, and the reason why I always get kind of upset about when people talk about anti-colonialism, that's why we have geometry. Without the Greeks kind of partially colonizing Egypt, we could not have had their understanding of geometry from Egypt and their studies of Egyptian geometry then filter into Greece. Well, Greek geometry then had to filter into Rome. Rome didn't exist yet. It wasn't a kingdom yet. Rome wasn't a kingdom until they had to present their king in Laurentium. And so on and so forth, until eventually, it's Rome magically that is this super successful place, because Americans don't really, won't call an empire sometimes. Like, we won't call the post 1950s Francosphere. See, even at this very moment, I'm using the term Francosphere. We are now seeing that it was the next French Empire, or was the last French Empire, is what we're now seeing fall apart. And so, a lot of so then you get, so you have this issue of how can we constantly bias knowledge, how can we sort of constantly have it our way, that comes from the cultural left in this regard with history, and then the moral lessons we learn from history. Well, now the beauty is we're starting to see this with science itself as a whole, except it's not working, because at some point the experimental method works. At some point you've got the numbers or you don't. Note what we aren't hearing much about anymore. See, some of you watch my channel, you probably are guessing where I'm going with this. The most deadly thing we've ever encountered ever since Islam. But no, now we never hear about it because all the shit about the koof is suddenly gone. As if a bunch of people were wrong. And they're trying to not be embarrassed. So this is kind of wonderful to see how, it turned out the vaccine absolutely now shows zero efficacy in anything it's supposed to do. Anything that would even be considered therapeutic or medicinal. It is now at zero efficacy. That's where we're at. That what the vaccine has now proven to be less effective than getting sick and getting over it. Like, that's the amazing part, is that the vaccine is so bad, if you just get sick and get over it, you are less likely to go to the hospital. That's what the numbers are telling us now. Holy shit. Oh, the coffee's kicking in. Oh, but I got to keep my swigs nice and small, so I really savor it. And, and I don't know if some of you saw how now there's, that there's now medical organizations that are having to say, yes, hormone therapy can be very damaging if it's not for a reason. Now, suddenly, after any man who's ever tried to put on lean muscle mass, and at some point somebody's like, blah, 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 and you look into a thing called supplements, and you start finding out to make testosterone, there's no supplement that becomes testosterone within three steps, I think it is. That there's just nothing made like this. Nothing becomes testosterone within 3 steps. The only one so far consistently has been creatine. Creatine is the only thing that's been, now they could say this is absolutely consistent. Even branched chain amino acids are now being tied to blood sugar, and even having a carcinophilic effect, if I'm getting that correct. It's I don't think I'm getting the last part of that right. It's carcino, like it basically creates a better environment to develop cancer in, and so that's what's been found with branched chain. But creatine has been pretty consistent in its effects, and that it's safe and this and that as long as it's taken correctly. But now they're finding out, no, but you pump yourself full of the wrong hormones and you're going to be way fucked up. And that now they're finding out, of course this has effects on the brain. They were claiming that taking the wrong hormones doesn't affect your brain, when literally roid rage is a thing. This is what I'm talking about, how science, when it sounds good to you, is science. It doesn't cut both ways. No. It magically is the sword that does not cut both ways. Roid rage for he, but no. Quasi-she has no effects on the brain. And, She-Hulk has a perfectly fucking healthy brain. So, this is beautiful now. that what we're dealing with are people who openly want to give money to a violent neo-Nazi junta. When they get the chance, they expose themselves as possibly being viciously anti-Jewish when given the opportunity on the internet. Every claim that they have made now about how, well, we're obviously smarter, we got this fucking diaper on our face, and people tell us to take a drug, and we just take it. That's now, there's no numbers behind that. And we're supposed to feel ashamed of something because you know who we're voting for. Holy shit. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But of course, then there's the sword cuts both ways. So we're all absconded by neo-Nazi savages who can't do math, or math 2 + 2 is 5 as long as it makes them right. This is what, and so people are thinking, oh no, you have no idea how good these people are for corporations. And I mean, like, they could code. They're typing away, typing up data. They're in the colleges. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, I can't believe you're not in the college. It must be because you're one of those dummies who doesn't wear a mask. I love that one. That's one of the ones that I love probably the most. Is just the Red Cross, when they are teaching you about first aid, say, don't use the mask to stay away from viruses. They tell you this. It's taken like 4 years for people to learn what it says on the side of the fucking box. It's great. It's great. And so now this is the thing is, when you now pretty much discriminate against, like, oh yeah, this person was a masky, this person was a wokey, this person's a pokey. If you discriminate against them, you are saving your own life, very likely. You're doing something very, very, very wise if you are discriminatory against such people, because they're dangerously stupid. And now it's not only that kind of this dangerous level of stupid where it's smart enough to hurt yourself, as the old saying goes, but now they're smart enough to pretty much enjoy watching other people hurt Jews. That's how smart they are now. That's how brilliant that side of politics has become. I loved seeing Ethan Klein realize his fans hate him for being a Jew. When he saw that, I was like, how didn't you know this about the left? How didn't you know that? How didn't you know that they are like that and they've been like that for a long time? And it just, oh. I mean, it just to see the reality, the red pill, like that, the moment the Matrix just shattered on him. I really hope that the Tate brothers get that footage and are like, this is him having to take the red pill. You know, this is him having to take it. And this is what it looks like. Wow. What a time to be alive.